Hi, good morning all. Others, please mute. When you have any doubt, you can unmute and you can ask the doubts. Okay, clarify the doubts. Good morning all. Today we are going to see introduction to OOPS and Apex. Am I audible?
Yes, Nagaraj.
Yeah, that's fine. Great. Okay. So for Ritu and Sudha, it will be a simple refresh. I'm going to go through the PPTs. We had seen already yesterday. Okay, in the last session we had seen little bit refresh. Okay, why we need to code? Okay, the reason we need to code is sometimes you need to customize your application, or you may need to extend the functionality which we may not be possible with a process builder or a workflow or flow. So at that point of time you may need to go for Apex code. So before Apex, coming into Apex, you might have worked into process builder, workflow, as well as approval process, and those kinds of the functionalities you might have already seen. Okay, so this particular Apex helps you to create single page applications with reusable components. A web page may consist of so many components. Using Apex you can create the individual components, and when you have to prefer Apex programming means when there is a complex business requirement, then only you have to go for your Apex programming. Otherwise, first preference should go for declarative programming. Declarative programming in the sense you should try whether we can able to solve those requirements using process builder, workflow, and flow. If it is a complex business requirement, then you have to opt for Apex program. As we discussed in the demo class, MVC stands for Model View Control Architecture. This is the software architecture pattern being used by Salesforce. So model that stands for objects, fields, and relationship. So when you went through your admin, you might have faced different kinds of objects. So different kinds of objects, as we discussed in the demo session, you have standard objects, you have custom objects, and you have system objects also, that is setup objects also, and you have relationships. As far as view is concerned, that is from user point of view. Your view may consist of Visualforce pages, Aura component, and LWC. So these things combined form the view. Controller, that's the heart of your business requirement, that consists of business logic. So business logic can be done in two ways. One is declarative, and the other one is the programmatic way. The declarative way, as I told earlier, using process builder, workflow, flow, you will do that. In programmatic, you will go for Apex program. So this is what all about the MVC, model view control architecture. Okay, so now you are seeing model view control architecture in terms of declarative and programmatic. So I already explained you. You can go through it a little bit. Okay. So how you can do the things, represent the things in programmatic way, and how you can represent the things in terms of declarative way. Okay. So this is what already we have discussed. Okay, how Apex works. Okay, so before coming into how Apex works, how a web-based application works. A web-based application generally works in two concepts. One is a request, and another one is the response. This is what the terminology being used in any web-based application, whether it's built in on .NET or whether it's built in Java or Ruby, Python, whatever it may be. How the web-based application works is a client or a user will send a request to the server, and in response the server will process the request and it will send back the response to the client. This is how the web-based application normally works. Okay, when you come into Apex, your Apex code will reside in server, that is a Salesforce server. Client in the sense your browser is the client. Okay, so suppose if you want to log in into Salesforce, in your browser you will be typing login.salesforce.com. Immediately the request will be sent to your server, application server. Your application server will check the credentials with the data storage. So those all are in the server side part. If the username and password matches, then only it will send a response page to the client. The response page will be in the form of HTML, CSS or JavaScript, because the browser which we are using, for example, it may be Chrome or it may be Firefox, it has the capability of only only processing the HTML pages. Your Apex page cannot run in the browser. The browser does not have the capability to process the Apex code, because Apex code is a server-side programming language. So at the end of the day, the client or the customer or the user who gets the output in terms of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, whatever may be the model, whatever may be the things, whatever may be the objects, or whatever it may be in the server side. End of the day, he will get the output in terms of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So your program will be compiled and it will be stored into the server side. And when a request comes in, it will process that code and it will send back the response to the client. This is how a web-based application normally works, and Apex also works in the same way. Then here comes a different types of variables and data types. So why you need a variable? As in the demo class, I told you, already, a variable which is being used to store a value in your program. For example, in mathematics, let's say we may solve an expression x plus y is equal to something, and then we will substitute value for x and y and we will get the output. In the same way, in programming also, you need to store the value in a place. That place is called a variable. Okay, so ultimately you will be storing your data into a variable. So when you say about data, a data should contain a format. It may be a number, it may be a string, or it may be a true or false. That is called a data type. So a variable consists of a data type and its value. Are you clear, guys? Any doubt in that?
No.
Great.
No from my end.
Sure, that's great. Fine. Okay. So if you have my humble request, because the slide is in full view, it's running in my screen. If you have any doubt, please kindly stop me and ask and clarify your doubt. That will be great. Yes. Okay. Fine. So as far as data types is concerned, you have a primitive data type. In whatever may be the programming language you go, this is what the basic data type you will be having. Primitive data type. So primitive data types in the means, specified in this slide, it's an integer, it may be a double. Integer in the sense it's a whole number. A double in the sense you will be storing your decimal value. Okay. And then you have a long, once again, a couple of people, so I guess. Okay, fine. So you have long. Suppose if you want to store a date variable, you can use your date. You can store date and time, and you can store string and a special data type called ID. Okay. Normally you might not seen this ID if you are programming in Java or C++. ID in the sense that's the record ID. You might have having 18-digit record ID in Salesforce. Okay, so the ID is used to uniquely identify a single record. So each and every record will be uniquely identified in Salesforce through this ID. Okay, it's an 18-digit or it may be a 15-digit. Okay, and then you have Boolean variable. So these all are the primitive data types, and then you have collection. Okay, so you have primitive data types. Then what is the need for collection? The collection data types are list, set, and map. For example, it's a very simple example I am explaining you. I'm going to store a value 10 in a variable called x. It's okay, fine. Suppose I want to store 100 variables in my program. I want to store 100 variables in my program. If that is the case, means if there is only primitive data type exists, means you will be creating 100 variables. Okay, so it maybe looks very much messy. Okay, so to overcome that, you can create collections. Collection in the sense it's a very simple. It's an array of data. Using a single name, you can store more than one value. That is called collections. Using a single name, you can store more than one value.
That is not that do something useful.
Yeah, please mute. You have any doubt, unmute and ask. Okay.
Something useful. In this tab,
In
you will
please
create the update folder.
please please mute. If you have any doubt, unmute and ask. Okay, so collection in the sense using a single variable, you can able to store so many data. Okay, so that's what the advantage of collection. And then you have an S object. Each and every standard and custom objects exist in Salesforce will be represented in Apex in the name of S objects. Okay, for example, if you have an account object, means in programming in Apex, you will represent that account object as an S object. So S object is a common common variable. It will be used to represent any objects which exist in your in your org. Okay, so it may be an account or it may be a contact. So all the custom and standard objects comes under S objects. And you have enums also. So enums is a set of constant. As the class progress, we will see how you can make use of enum.
Hey Nagraj, Neetu here. Can you explain those list, set, and map, or are we gonna?
Sure. Okay. So primitive data types in the sense, in a single variable, you can store only one value. Okay, you are clear about that?
Yeah, only the collection, list, set, and map.
In collections, you can store so many values with a single name. Okay, you understood? For example, it may be an array. So let me explain. Okay, let me explain.
I just need an example of all three: list, set, and map.
Yeah. No, let me get into my developer console. So how as she asked the doubt, I'm getting into the developer console. How you will start writing your program? Okay, in your login, you will go for the gear icon, and there you have an option called developer console. So when you click the developer console, a window will pop up in your screen. So this is what your playground as far as a developer is concerned. We will play, with our codes, all our codes in this particular window. Okay, here you can write your Apex classes. For example, I am going to write Apex class. Before that, if you want to temporarily, execute a couple of things, you can use execute anonymous window. There is an option called execute anonymous window. I'm going to click that. So this is what execute anonymous window. For example, I want to print something in the screen. I wanted to test it whether this command is working fine or not. I can make use of this execute anonymous window. Okay, so this is for a temporary execution, code execution purpose only. You will be using it. For example, I am going to declare a variable. Let me declare a variable. Okay. X is equal to 10. This is an integer variable. I can be able to store a single data. Suppose if it is a list, means I will be storing like this. Okay, list string. Okay, lst is equal to new list of string. I can like this. Can you see the difference between list and integer? Neetu?
Yeah, I can see there is a code difference. Yeah.
In an integer, you are storing only one value. Is it 10 is being stored in integer X? Okay. But as far as the list is concerned, two values being stored. Okay, you can store so many values in the list. So list is a collection of same data type. That really matters. Okay, you can't store an integer, you can't store a string, you can't combine it. It should be a single data type, but you can store so many values, more than one values in a list. Okay, in the same way, set is also. As the class progress, I will explain you what's the difference between list, set, and map. Okay, are you fine with that?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so let's continue the slide. Okay, so this is what the syntax for how to create a class in Apex. Okay, so an Apex class, if something in the syntax is specified within square bracket, it is an optional one. there is no need to specify those things. Okay, in any programming language, if in the syntax, if something is being specified within a square bracket, it's an optional one. Okay, here private, public, global. So this is called access modifier. A class may be private, or it may be a global scope, or it may be a public one. Okay, this is what access modifier. Access modifier in the sense how another class can able to access this class. Okay, suppose I'm having two classes. One class is A and another one is another one class is called B. If B can able to access A, that really depends on this access modifiers. If the class is private, you can't access it. Okay, so if it is public, anyone can access this class. If it is global, from different namespaces, you can able to access it. So what is mean by namespace? In the upcoming classes, we will see how to create a namespace. Okay, so that I will explain that. So private, public, and global. So these things are called as access modifiers. And next one is, it's an optional one, virtual, abstract, with sharing, without sharing. So virtual in the sense, suppose I have two classes, I want to extend the functionality of one class into another class, means I can go for virtual. That is called extending. In OOPS concept jargon, you can call it as, you can call it as polymorphism, or you can call it in a different way. Okay, so virtual used to extend. You are going to inheritance. Actually, it's an inheritance. You are going to extend the functionality of one class into another class. Guys, I will explain you everything in clear, how you can create a virtual class, how you can create abstract. Okay, so it's just an introduction. So immediately I will jump into my code editor. So don't worry about that. So virtual, abstract. Okay, what is meant by abstract in the sense, if a class contains a keyword abstract in the sense, you can't create object for the class. Okay, so the only possibility is you will extend the class and you can use it. You can't create object for the class. Okay. And next comes two interesting things, with sharing and without sharing. Actually, your Apex class runs in system mode. What is meant by system mode? For example, I am logging into my Salesforce. I don't have an access to my account object. Okay, I don't have access to the account object. But your Apex class will give you the privilege to access the account object. So that is called system mode. In system mode, you can access anything. Okay, so to restrict that, you will go for with sharing. Okay, with sharing means it will inherit your access privileges. That is your profiles and your permission set and your OW things, that will be comes into the picture. If you specified without sharing in the sense, again, all the rules will be out. You can access anything. Okay, so by default, it will be without sharing. You can access anything using Apex. Okay, there will not be any restriction. Okay, suppose if you want to restrict and you want your profile settings to be applied for the Apex class, then you will go for with sharing. So this is what all about, private, public, global, and then virtual, abstract, with sharing. We will see each and everything clear by writing classes. Okay, I will explain that. And how to write a class? It will start with the keyword class. This is the keyword class, and then the class name. And inside the class, you can write your own logic. Okay, I'm going to stop the PPT over here. Let's jump into a hands-on session. Okay, this is what my developer console. If anyone join new, I'm again going to start. You can go for setup, and in the setup, you will have a developer console option. Once you click that developer console option, you will be, redirected to a page. So this is your developer console. In the developer console, you can create your class, you can create your trigger. So all those, your programmatic part, you will be doing it. And in developer console, you have an execute anonymous window. As I told earlier, this window is being used to execute the temporary coding part. You can test your Apex class, how it works in this, before you are calling it into a trigger, you can execute your Apex class using anonymous window. For example, an expression is there. I want to, evaluate that expression. Before using it into my code, I can make use of this execute anonymous window. So let's see, I'm going to print something. Suppose if you want to print something in your code, you can make use of system.debug. Okay. So if you are going to print a string, you will be specifying it within single quotes. I'm going to print hi. Okay, let's see how it works. After typing your code, you will coming to the bottom. You have two options there. One is called execute and another one is called execute highlighted. I will explain what is mean by execute highlighted. Currently, I'm going to click the button execute. It's executed. And at the bottom, you have different tabs over there. One is logs. At the bottom of the page, you will be having this log. To see the output, you have to double click it. Okay, immediately a window will be popped up. The complete execution process, will be displayed over here. To see just the output, I will explain each and everything in the upcoming classes. Okay. Suppose if I want to get only the debug, means you have to select this checkbox, debug only. I am selecting the debug only. This is what the output. Okay, I am getting the output hi, which is being printed from the line number 2. This is a debug thing. So this is how you can print something in your screen in the middle of your development. Okay, to check whether it's coming correctly or not. Okay. This is how you can print a string. For example, I'm going to declare a variable. How you can declare a variable? I'm going to declare a variable integer x. Its value is 100. Okay, fine. I want to print that x value in the debug. So just I'm going to give system.debug x. Let me execute it. I'm going to execute it. Again, you have to come to the execute anonymous window. In the logs, you can get the output over here. So this is the current log, and at the bottom you have the previous execution log. Okay. So I'm going to double click it. Let's open up. So debug only. Yeah, I'm getting the output 100. So 100 is being stored. So each and every time when you execute your code, your anonymous window will be disappeared. Again, you have to open it. So debug, open, execute anonymous window. X contains a value of 100 and it gets printed. Okay. So before getting well versed in programming, two things you should know. Okay, as far as I am concerned, one is how to debug very fast. That really matters. You can write a code, within 5 minutes you can write a code, but you don't know how to debug. It may take 5 hours to solve the problem. It's really, very, very toughest thing in programming. So you should know how to debug the things very quick. Then you can be a very good programmer here. Okay, that's what my personal idea is that. So let's see. I'm going to declare a variable x. X does not contain any value. Okay. So whether x contains any value? No. I'm going to print the x value. Guys, can you tell what may be the output? Anyone guess?
Null value.
Okay. Then it is an integer. Why null will be gets printed?
It doesn't have any value in it. They are not storing any value to that.
Is it null is an integer data type? No. Okay. But you are absolutely right. It's great. We will get null as an output. Let's check it out. I executed it. Okay. So let's go to the output. So debug only. Yeah, you are absolutely right. You are getting null as an output. But the question comes here is, it's an integer variable. Okay. So why it gets printed null? Because in Apex, integer, double, date and time, whatever it may be, everything automatically inherit a class called object. Okay. So everything gets inherited from a class called object. So that's why you are getting null. So normally null will be dealt with objects only, because your integer class is, extending the functionalities from object class. By implicitly, you are getting null as an output. You got it? Okay. Okay, fine. So next part, I'm going to declare another variable. So let's declare. I'm going to declare a variable called string str is equal to some name. Okay, for example, welcome. I'm going to. Suppose if I want to print the string variable instead of x, I will be giving str. It's okay, fine. Okay. No doubt in that. Suppose if I want to print the value like this, value of x is equal to 100. That's what I want to get printed. If that is the case, means you have to use concatenation operator. Value of, this is what the string value of, it will be printed as it is. So no issues with that. You can, finish it within the double quotes. And after that, you have to use plus over there. This is called concatenation operator. Again, I am going to give X over there. Because you are going to combine two different data types. On the right hand side, you have an X. X is an integer data type. On the left hand side, you have a string. If you want to combine two different data types to print, you will be using plus symbol. So that is called concatenation operator. Let's see what's the output. I'm going to execute it. Okay, fine. Let's execute it. Let's see the output. Okay. Debug only. Yeah, value of X is equal to 100. So that's what gets printed. Value of 100. Let's see. Okay. That's what we have given. Value of 100. So suppose if you want to, this is what the point I'm coming to say. If you want to combine two different data types, you will be using plus as an concatenation operator. Okay. Any doubt in that? Anyone any doubt in that?
No.
It's okay. Fine.
We didn't use string data type. STR.
Yeah, we will use it. Okay, no issues with that. I'm going to give it as str.
No, bro.
Yeah.
So concatenation means integer plus a string, is it? But we are printing only integer and only the string.
Yeah, actually the thing is value of is in string format, but it is in single quotes. You haven't stored it in a variable. Okay.
Value
So-
of it's just anything we can print within a quotes, right, bro?
Suppose, see, 1 second. If I am going to print str inside the double quotes, because it's a string only, you know. So I'm going to give it within single quotes. I am giving it as value of str. Okay, in this juncture, I'm going to execute it again. So let's see what comes. You will get value of str, I guess. Yes, absolutely. You are getting value of str. Okay. So str is not treated as a variable because str is specified inside
yeah.
the single quotes.
No, it's a value we are giving in a single quotes. But I'm asking, we are printing a str variable plus X.
str
It
variable
should
plus.
print like welcome.
Yeah, I got your point. I got your point. I got your point.
Yeah, even I have a same question for you.
Yeah, that's okay. Fine. No issues. We can execute.
Yeah,
it.
this is what. Yeah.
Yeah, I got your.
Message can give anything within a single quotes. No.
Yes,
That's-
of course. Let's see what the output is. Okay, you got.
Yes, bro.
So
Yeah.
now
100.
we have string and integer both, right?
Yeah, this
Yes.
Okay.
If you specified, that's what I called plus as an concatenation operator.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So because you are concatenating two different data types. Okay. Clear? No more doubt in that.
Yeah, clear.
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, fine. So next thing is, in the anonymous window, what all are the syntax errors you might be, facing? For example, I want to print a string. Okay, I'm going to put it in the double quotes. Hi, I'm going to put it in double quotes and I'm going to execute it. Okay. Immediately there is an error gets like this, unrecognized simple double quotes. So keep it in mind. If you are going to specify a string in Apex means you will be specifying it within single quotes, not in double quotes. Okay. You got the point. So when you are going to specify a string in Apex programming, you will be using single quotes, not double quotes. This is what point number one, you have to keep it in mind. And next, semicolon, it really matters. Okay. So each and every line should ends with semicolon. Suppose if I miss this semicolon over here, let's see what the error comes up. Sometimes it may not be, relevant error. Okay. You have to figure it out. Unrecognized simple again, because double quotes is there. Okay. So I'll ask you one more question also. Let's put it over here. Okay. Now it's telling it as unexpected token bracket. Okay. So actually the thing is you are missing the semicolon, but it's telling you that the bracket is missing. So this is what the problem with the compilers. So sometimes you have to be very clear. If the error comes in means this may be the reason like that. And one more thing you might have noticed. Okay. Initially I specified the double quotes and I missed the semicolon also. So two errors are there, but both of the errors comes in the same time. No. When you correct the first error, then only the next error comes in the anonymous window. Okay, this is what all about, declaring variables, how you can declare different types of variables over there. Next interesting part. Okay, so let's suppose if I want to execute only this particular line, you have to highlight it, you have to select it, you can select one or more lines, and then you can go for execute highlighted. In that particular case, that only one line, the particular line will be get executed. That is what the difference between execute and execute highlighter. So it may be a very basic for a couple of people, those who have already known Apex. Okay, so there are a lot of new people comes into the programming background. That's why I am explaining uh, from the scratch. Okay, so system.debug will only get executed, integer x will not be get executed, and string str will not be executed because you are going for the option execute highlighter. So once the class over, you should execute all those things in your org. Then only you will get a clear idea. Okay, this is my humble request. Okay, so next interesting part, I'm having a variable called 5. Okay, so I'm going to divide this 5 divided by 2. Can anyone guess what may be the output? Anyone? Hello? Hello? Can anyone answer it?
I'm like, does it divide?
Sometimes, when there is no response, sometimes it gives me doubt that whether I am audible or any issues, technical issues with my system. So no issues. It may be get wrong. We all are learning. So we are in the learning process. So don't worry about that. Just
Does it divide it?
yes.
Does it divide and give the answer?
Yes, absolutely. So it's a division operator only. This is called operator. It's a division operator only. So can you able to guess what may be the output?
2.5.
Yeah, normally, obviously it should be 2.5, is it? So no
But
issues.
we are storing the way we have to storing the output value.
Yes,
We need any
let's check.
variable.
Now let's check it out. What's the output comes? Okay. So here comes the debug log. These all are the simple tricky things. It might be in your examination or it might be in your interview. So actually you have to get 2.5, but you are getting 2. Why? Anyone?
It's a integer. We are not using the decimal.
Yes. So that doesn't matter. You are going to store it into integer or decimal. That doesn't matter. If you are going to divide an integer in Apex, it will give only integer value. It will not give decimal value. Okay. So to get the decimal value, you have to declare instead of integer, you have to specify here. Specify decimal. Let's check it out. What may be the output? Okay, I executed it. Let's see what's the output comes in. Debug only. Sorry, it's not executed properly, I guess. Let's execute once again. It's a division, sorry, it's a division only. So when you apply division, that's the thing. Yes. Yes, you are getting 2 only. Okay. Now I need to get 2.5 as an answer. So to solve this, you can make use of another variable, decimal y is equal to x divided by 2, and then you can specify y. Yeah, yes, let's execute. It's executed. Now we got 2.5. Clear with that? Okay. So if you want to get the decimal values, you have to make use of the decimal variables. If you want to make use of only the integer part, you can go with the integer part. That's okay. Let's stop the anonymous window over here and let's jump into how to create a simple class. Okay. So I'm going to close these all anonymous windows. I'm going to create a new class now. So file, you have to go for new and you have to go for Apex class. Here you can specify your class name. I'm going to give test as my class name. I'm going to give it as test. So automatically there will be a boilerplate code will be there. Automatically this boilerplate code will be created by the Apex. So public class test. So you will have only the wrapper. That is the outside part only you will be getting public. So by default, a class will be in public scope. The other scope, what you can given is private as well as
Global.
the other part you can give it is private as well as global. If you specify something in double slash means this is called comment. This line will not be get executed. Okay. For example, you want to write a simple documentation related to your current class. You can make use of this command lines. Okay. So using double slash, you can specify a single line of code. If it is more than one line means you can use slash star. I will explain you that also. So this is the line will not be get executed. It's a command line only. So the options are private and global. So inside a class, okay. So what are the things a class can contain? A class can contain a member variable as well as a member function. What is mean by member variable? I am going to declare the x over here. These are x is equal to 100. This is called member variable. This is called member variable. And what is mean by member function? You have to write a function. The function in the sense it's a set of block of codes you can make reuse it. Okay, you can call it again and again when you need that code. That is called function. So for a function, I'm going to write the scope, that is it's public, okay, and its return type. This is called a return type. Whether this function is going to return any values back to the calling function or it will not return anything. Void means nothing. You will not return anything back. I'm going to print something. Okay, so display over here. It's okay, fine. So this is what all about the function, and then you have to save it. So a class can contain an integer variable and it can contain a member function also. These are the two things will be there in the class. You can't have any expression over here. For example, if I want to evaluate something, I can give x plus y over here. No, you can't give it. The expressions should reside inside your functions only. A class can contain variable declaration and function declaration. These are all the things will be there. And what about the errors generated being here? Let's see. I'm going to remove this semicolon over here, and I'm going to save my class. Okay, my class being saved. Immediately at the bottom, you have a tab called problems. Okay, so click on that. Okay, here you have the error. Okay, so each and every error will be displayed over here. You can go through the line number and you can clear the errors also. Let me put a semicolon. Okay. So this is what called as how to write a variable and function. So inside the function, I'm going to display something in the screen. So system.debug. System.debug. Okay. Welcome to Apex. Okay. So you finished your class. How you will make use of this Apex class? That's really a $1 billion question. You have finished your class. Why you will use this class? The class will not get executed automatically. You have to keep it in mind. You can write your business logic. Your business logic will not get executed automatically. Okay. You will use this business logic somewhere in an event. For example, when a user clicks a button or when a user enters something, the business logic will be get executed. So to use your test class, you can make use of process builder. Okay. So in process builder, you can call Apex classes. You can use it in a trigger, or you can use it in a flow, or you can use it in an Aura component as a controller, or you can use the class in an LWC using wire adapter. You can make use of it. So those kinds of things are there. So a class in Apex class will not execute automatically. So you will need to execute each and every part. Now I need to execute the function display inside the class test. So how you can do that? Okay, instead of to check this, I'm not going to write a process builder or I'm not going to write a trigger. I'm a beginner. So now what I have to do? That is what the debug, you will be going into debug, execute anonymous window is handing over here. So let me remove all these things. Okay, let me remove all these things. So let me create an object for this class. I am going to create an object for this class. So how you can access a class? First step, don't forget, to access a class, you need to create object for the class. There are two ways. I'm going to explain you the first way. How you can access a class. You need to create object for the class. How you can create object for the class? Object in the sense it's equivalent to a variable. Okay. First, you need to specify your class name. My class name is test. I'm going to specify my class name test, and then the object name. Object name in the sense it may be a variable name. Previously, you have declared X, So integer is the data type. In the same way, class is also a data type. Then what is the difference between an integer and a class? An integer can contain only a single value. A class can contain values as well as functions. That's one of the major difference. Okay. So I'm going to create an object for the class. So for that, initially I have to declare the class name test, and then I have to specify the object name is equal to new. I'm going to use the keyword new. What new will do? Actually, your program, when in any programming language, when you write your code, initially the code will be copied into your random access processor in your memory, and it will execute from there only. Okay, so you need to allocate memory in the RAM for your program. So that's what the new does. Okay, when you specify new over there, it will create a memory for your object in the random access memory in your runtime memory over there. Okay, it's a temporary only. So you're going to create object for the class. Using this object, you can access your members. How many members you are having now? You are having two members. One is X and another one is display. To access your members, you can use object name dot. Dot is the notation being used to access the members. What is your function name? Display. So I'm going to access the function display over here. So object dot display. So let me execute this and see what the output. I executed it. I have to come back to logs. So let me open it. Let's see what the output comes.
Welcome to Apex.
Welcome to Apex. Great. So that's what the output you got. Fine. Okay. Fine. I explained you to access a class member, you will be using the object. Okay. So let me try to access the integer variable. So it is an integer variable. So I'm going to print it in the screen. So system.debug. Let me try that. System.debug object.x. This is what you have to specify. So how you can access a function object dot function name open bracket close bracket semicolon. If there is a open bracket close brackets means you are going to access a function over there. There will not be any bracket in the sense you are going to specify a variable. So this is what, from the syntax point of view, this is what the difference. So let me try to access this X also. Let's see what the output comes. Well, the output came? No. So what the error means? Can anyone? I don't want answer from the technical perspective. We just to read the statement. To debug any code, it really matters. You have to read the error.
Variable is not visible.
Variable is not visible. You can catch that point, visible. Okay. So variable is not visible. Okay. You can't access this variable outside. That is what it's telling. You see the difference. This display function is being specified as public. So you are able to access it. This integer variable, it does not have any scope. I haven't specified private, public or something, anything over there. Just I declared a variable, but I was unable to access it. Okay. The meaning is by default in Apex, a function or integer, whatever it may be, by default it's in private scope. If it is in a private scope, you can't access that outside the class. You got the point? Guys, you got the point? It's clear?
Yes, Bryce.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, you mean to say like if we are declaring public, below that we need to declare like its integer should be private or public, right?
You should be declared private or public. You haven't specified anything. By default, Apex will consider it as a private.
Private, okay.
Okay. If it is private means you can't access it outside the class. I am accessing X now outside my class. Is it? So I'm accessing it from my anonymous window. That is, it's outside the class. So outside the class, if you want to access something, it should be in public scope. Okay. So it's really, yeah.
So every time we need to declare, if it's public, then we need to declare, right?
Yes, definitely. Okay. It's an interview question or it's an exam point of view. Okay, sometimes in PD1 you might have a code. A variable might be declared as private. They may ask you, what will be the output. Okay, at that point of time, you should know the difference. Okay, that's why I'm explaining it. Okay, so let's change it. Yeah,
How do you declare it as public? The
that's
integer
what I am going
public,
to do it. I am going to convert it into public. Just you have to specify the scope over
public.
there. That's it. That's it. Okay. So now
Okay.
let's run this code. What the output comes. Yeah, I executed the code. Let's see what the output comes. Debug only. Yeah, I can able to see the output 100 over here. Okay, now I can able to access both the variable as well as the function. I can able to access it because both of them are in public scope. You got the point, guys?
Yes.
So the ultimate point is, if you haven't specified any scope, it will be private. If it is private, you can't access it from outside the class. To access a variable from outside the class, access a variable or function, whatever it may be, it should be in public scope. So let me change it into private scope. Okay, let's play with one another thing. Okay, another thing. So I'm going to remove this scope. Okay, I'm going to remove this scope. Okay, it is in private scope. If a variable is in private scope, you can't access it from outside. Then what's the meaning of using it? Actually, 2 points over here. One is I am giving security to my variable. Okay, someone is going to access my test class, but I don't want them to access my variable X. So I am giving it as a private. By default, it's a private. Okay, so this private and public are used to give security to the class. Now you got the point. Clear?
Yes.
Yes, bro. Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. So to give security, you can make use of private. So here comes the next question. Then what is the meaning of using X over there? I was unable to use it in the anonymous window, but inside the class, you can access anything. Okay, so I'm going to write a statement inside the class. I'm going to copy it, system.debug. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it over here. Okay. I'm going to change it to value of X. Value of X, and then let's specify value of X, and then I'm going to concatenate because I'm going to print X over here. Let's see whether we can able to access X over here, and we can remove this. There is no need of this line. I'm just going to access this function. This function is in public, so I can able to access it. So now the control will be get into this display function. It will print the line welcome to Apex. No issues with that. Next, it will try to print the variable X. Here comes the question whether it can able to access X or not. So let's execute it. Got the output in the execute anonymous window. So let's go for debug only. Okay. Welcome to Apex. I haven't saved the code, I guess. So that's what the problem. So let me, because whether it actually it should throw an error or it should get an output, but both of them are not happened. So that's why I haven't saved it. So let's check it out once again. Open the anonymous window. Debug only. Let's go for debug only. You got welcome to Apex and value of X is equal to 100. Okay, you got the point now. So inside the class, private, public, that doesn't matter. You can access anything. For example, you are in your, you are inside your house. Okay, you can go to any room. There is no issues with that. Okay, when someone is coming from outside, then there comes the restriction. Okay, if you close your door, no one can enter your house. It's equivalent to private. If it is private, no one can access it. Okay, so inside the class you can access anything. Inside the class, private, public, that doesn't matter. You can access anything over there. Okay, if it is outside the class, then only private, public, and those things are comes into picture. So to give security to the class, you will be using private or public. So up to this point, you are clear? Any doubts?
Clear, bro.
We
Okay.
are fine.
Okay, fine. So next, moving to different types of functions, how you can write different ways. Okay. So let me write a function, one more function. I'm going to write one more function, public. Okay. Public void. I'm going to write this function to add two numbers. I need to add two numbers. So I'm going to write. So the next part comes is arguments. Next part comes is arguments. Okay. So you're going to access this function sum outside your class, that is from anonymous window. At that point of time, I need to pass two values. Suppose if you want to pass two values to a function, you need to receive it. That is called arguments. So I'm going to specify integer a over here, and I'm going to specify another variable b over here. Actually, this integer a and integer b are called as arguments. What is mean by arguments means, no, it is used to store value which is being passed from outside the class. When you are going to access this function, you can pass two values over there. Okay, so I need to add these things into an integer variable. So let me declare another variable called sum. Sum is equal to, I'm going to add these two things. See, and after that, sorry, a and b, and after that, I will print the value. You can use it as sum. So let's say answer, integer answer. And I'm going to print these things in the screen. So system.debug, I need to print answer is equal to, so answer is equal to, concatenation operator comes because it's a string and integer. So I'm going to specify. So that's it. This is what the function definition. So just to compare the previous function display and this function sum. The difference between these two things is display function, you haven't passed any arguments. Here you can pass an arguments. Okay. So the ultimate point is this argument is an optional one. You can pass, okay, you can write a function without argument, or you can write a function with argument. It depends on your requirement. At the end of the day, you will be seeing so many concepts. So where you will apply, it depends on your arguments. So when you work it out more, you will get this clear picture where we have to apply which concepts. So it's really matters. So let's access it from outside. So as usual, first you have to create the class, and I have created object. I have created object for this class. It's okay, fine. Now there is no need to access this function display. I need to access the function called sum. So I'm going to pass sum. Actually, the thing is, the sum expects two values over there. So you need to pass two values. I'm going to pass 10 and 20. Okay. What happens is the 10 will be stored into A and 20 will be automatically stored into B. And after that, these two values will be added up into an answer variable, and it will be get printed in the screen. So let's see, what the output is. I need to save it, I guess. I haven't saved it properly, I guess. So let's save it. Sometimes to save, it may take a little bit time here. I'm going to execute it. It's a get executed. So let's see the output, what it comes. So debug only. You got the answer as 30. So 10 and 20 gets added up over here, and you got the output. So this is how you can pass values to the arguments. What is the need of argument? Suppose, let's say I'm straight away giving it like this, 10 and 20, no arguments over there, means whenever you execute this code, always you will get the answer as 30. So that is what the aim of object-oriented programming. That is what that is not the aim of functions. So the functions and OOPS concepts, everything is there to code reusability. If you want to make a program code reusability, it should be a dynamic one. Here it's a dynamic one because it's getting the values as argument. Suppose another person is coming. He want to add 100 and 200, means he can make use of my class. What he needs to do, he needs to create an object for my class, and he need to pass the two values as an argument to the function. Automatically it will be added up. This is what called as code reusability. It's a simple scenario. I just added up two numbers. For example, a GST calculation or any tax calculation may be there. Okay, two people are working in the same project. One is already completed the code to calculate the GST. Whether the other one need the same functionality, whether he needs to write it again from the scratch, no need. He can make use of it. So how he can make use of it? He will be creating an object for the class, and he will calling that function to get the output. At the same time, he will pass his parameters also. So you guys clear about this?
I have a doubt, like when we will come to know, like use this argument, like code reusability purpose. I mean, I'm not clear about this, like how we will figure it out, like when we need to use this one.
Actually, the main concept is, behind OOPS concept is its code reusability. Whatever you are going to write inside the class is, you may use it in different scenarios. Okay, that's what the simple example I had given it. Okay, in a single project, two people are working there. There is a business logic needed. One already completed for example, let's say person A already completed the logic. The same logic is required by person B also. At this point of time, why he needs to waste his time again writing the same logic? He can make use of person A's class. That's called code reusability. In that scenario, you will be make use of this. Clear?
Okay. Yeah, clear.
So it's very clear. If you need to do the same things repeatedly, that's a simple thing. Yeah, that's a jargon. Repeatedly, if you are going to do some things, means it may immediately strike into your mind that yeah, we had done it already somewhere there. So why we need to again and again write that? We can make use of it. So at that point of time, you will go for code reusability. That's what OOPS concept is all about. Okay, at that point of time, you need to specify security also. So here comes the private picture. Okay, so you're clear at this point of time how to declare a function, how you can pass a value to a function. You people clear?
Hello.
Shall I move on to the next thing?
Hello.
Yes, Sasha.
Yes.
Yes, Nagaraj.
Sure. That's great.
Hello, I have a doubt.
So now comes the picture void. Okay, what is mean by void? Actually, in programming part, void in the sense it's nothing. Its meaning is nothing. Nothing in the sense. Actually, this is called calling function. This is called calling function. Okay, you are going to call sum from this window. Actually, the rule is after calling this function, the control will transfer to this function. It will execute all the codes inside the function, and then ultimately the control will transfer to this line. It will look at the down. There is no part to execute, so your program ends over there. This is what the flow. Okay. So I am explaining the flow. When you are going to call a function, automatically the control will be transferred to that particular function. It will execute all the lines inside the function until it will come back. So please be sure it will come back automatically where it started. Enga start show, sorry. Where it started, it will come back to that particular point. Okay. So when come back to that point, this function needs to carry any value or not. That's what decided by void. You got the point? Okay. Suppose let's take the scenario. Instead of printing the answer over here, I want to print the answer in the anonymous window. Okay. If that is the scenario, means I need to transfer the value from the function back to the anonymous window. So that is called a return type. That is called return or return type. Now it is in void, so it will not return any value back. So I am printing the values over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to return the value from function to anonymous window. It's going to return the answer over here. So how you can able to return two things here, you need to keep it in mind. First, you need to specify the keyword return. Okay. First you need to return. Using the return keyword, you can return any values back to the called function. So now I'm going to return a value back to my anonymous window. So I'm going to use the keyword called return. What I have to return? I have to return the value inside the variable ans, answer. Okay, I'm going to return this variable. Next point. If I'm going to return a variable means you have to identify what is the data type of that variable. The data type of that variable is integer. So instead of using void over here, you have to replace it with integer. That's it. This is how you can return value from a function. Okay. You got the point, guys? Any doubt in that? Ritu, any doubt in that?
I'm not clear. I don't know about others, but I didn't get the point, like what exactly we are doing here.
Okay, fine. So the first line, you are going to sum 10 and 20. Okay, the answer is inside the variable 30. You are clear in that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want to take the value outside this function. I need to take the value outside this function and I want to print it like this. Let's say, for example, I want to print system.debug. I want to print the value here, ans. Is it possible? No, it's not possible because your variable is declared inside a function. So it is inside a function, so you can't get it outside. Okay. So how you can able to take the value back from the source? This is what the source. From here only you entered into your function. Okay. From this point you entered into this function. Now using this return, you are going to take the value back to this point. Now you are clear?
Yeah.
If you want to take the value back to your original destination, original starting point, you need to make use of the keyword return. So return is used to return a value back to the called function. So this is point step 1, for example. This is 1. From here you started. Okay, it gets executed and the value will be returned back to this particular point. It will be returned back to this particular point. So it is returning some value. So I am going to declare a variable. Okay. Yes, answer over here. Okay. Now what happens is 10 and 20 will be passed into this function. 10 and 20 will be added up into 30 and answer contains the value of 30. When you specify return, this 30 will be come back and stored into the variable answer. You got the point?
Yes.
Hello. You got the point? So you are giving it back. You can say like that. You are giving it back. Actually, your function is being called by someone and you are giving it something back. For example, you are going to buy something in your shop. You are giving 100 rupees. You are going to buy for 80 rupees and he will return back to you 30 rupees. Okay. So it's coming back to you. So that's what the concept is. You are going to calling this function and this function is going to return something back to you. This is called returning a value from your function. Okay, in the display you are not going to return anything, so that's why it's specified as void. Here you are going to return a value and its data type is integer, so I'm going to specify integer, because by seeing this function I can able to easily identify this function requires 2 integer variables, and in response this function will give me back an integer value. So by seeing this I can able to easily write code for it. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to print the value over here. Let's see what the output over here. So previously we have printed it inside the function. Now we are taking it outside. System.debug. Let's say answer over here. Let's execute it. Before that, save the class. It's get executed. Jump into it. Now you got the output 30. Okay.
30.
Yeah, that's great. So now you got the output 30 in your anonymous window. So from your class, you are taking the value. From the function, you are taking the value outside your function using the return value. So when specifying return, couple of things you need to keep it in mind. This return keyword is connected with this return data type. Suppose if you are going to return a decimal, you need to replace this integer with a decimal. Suppose if you are going to return a string, you will be specifying string over here. You are not going to return anything, then you should replace it with void. Void means nothing. If it is void means there will not be any return statement over there. So guys, up to this point, clear? Any doubts over there? I want to, I want you guys to make it, very pakka with these basics, because this is the basic. If you are very much clear about these basics, means it will be easy to learn Apex. Okay. So after getting into a couple of classes, we will be writing more Apex codes. At that point of time, what is meant by function or what is meant by return means it won't look nice. At that point of time, you need to concentrate on the new concepts. So that's why I'm explaining it very clearly, deeply, I guess. Okay, slowly I'm explaining. Any doubt in that?
No, bro, it's clear.
Okay, fine. Here comes the next thing. No. Okay, I have another variable. Let's see a couple of things over here. I'm going to declare another variable over here. Okay, let's z is equal to 456. I need to return 2 values. Okay, so currently this function is returning only one value, that is answer 30 is being transferred back. I'm going to give ns comma z. I need to return 2 values. Is it possible to return 2 values from a function? Anyone? Those who are already familiar. Immediately I got an error. Okay, when I given answer comma z, immediately in my window there it comes. Okay, at the bottom You see at the bottom of your screen, missing return statement required type in integer. Actually, the thing is, a function can return only one value. Please note it down. A function can return only one value. It cannot return more than one value. It can return either answer or it can return either z. It cannot return both. So the point is, a function can return only one value. That's a point number one. Are you clear?
Yes, bro.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I think Nitu asked, when I was explaining about list and sets, is it? Here comes the picture. Suppose if I have 5 values, how I can able to return those values back to my anonymous window? At that point of time, instead of declaring as an integer, you will be declaring as a list, because inside a list, you can store more than one value. Suppose if you want to return a bunch of values from your function, means you can make use of a list, you can make use of set, you can make use of map. So that's the way you can work it around if a function needs to return more than one value. In the upcoming classes, we will see that also. So let's see one more interesting concept. Okay. I'm explaining it all the things in OOPS basics because this is what the foundation. If your foundation is very strong, you can learn any programming OOPS related programming language. I'm not dealing with the Salesforce or Apex. If you're strong with your OOPS programming, you can learn yourself any programming language. So let me print something over here. System.debug. Let me print something over here. System.debug. After execution, I'm going to print something over here. After execution. Let's see what the output is. There is no need of Z over here. So let me remove it. Okay. So immediately there comes an error. You have to keep an eye on these errors, because if you are familiar with these errors, you can easily debug your program and you will take very less time to your debug program. So that will help you to become a good programmer. So you see, immediately there is an error comes up, unreachable statement. So the thing is, after return means the control will be transferred back. Once it transferred back to this particular anonymous window, again it will not come back. Okay, to make it come back into your code, you have to call that function only. Actually, the point is, if you return any statement after return, those statements will not be get executed. There is no chance to execute these lines, because you are returning, you are going back. Once you went back to your anonymous window, there is no possibility to come back again. So if you return something after your return statement, it will immediately throw an error, unreachable statement. If you see any errors like this, unreachable statement means blindly you can tell that you are writing the statement after return. So that's a point. So the thing is, after return, you can't write anything over here. So as of now, I have explained you how to create simple variables, what is the difference between private as well as public, how to write a function with arguments, how a function can return a value, what is mean by return, and what will happen if you specify something after return, and what will happen if you divide something. So couple of basic things I have explained you. So I think it's time to stop it over here. I'm going to stop for today's session. So the recordings will be available in the drive and you can make use of it. You try to do something over there. Okay. So let me give a simple scenario.
Bro, one question, one doubt, bro.
Sure.
So which means the return type, we have to declare the return type always end of the coding.
Yes, it depends. If you don't want your function to get return any value, you will not specify the return statement.
But
If
the
you
system.debug is just printing the messages, right? We are not called the ANS variable again, right? We are
Yes.
passed to anonymous. Again, we are not called ANS a variable. But why it is throwing error, unreachable statement? Which means
Because
anything we cannot do after return
yeah,
keyword or what?
actually, let's have a close look at this flow. Step one, you are going to access this function from here, is it?
Yes,
So
okay.
now the execution control will be transferred from anonymous window to this function. It will execute these lines and the next line and the next line. Here the control see the statement return.
Okay.
Immediately after seeing the return, the instruction is you have to go out of this function. That's what the compiler tells the control. So immediately the control transferred back, whatever may be the lines outside. If anything return as return as a return, it will immediately goes back to the called function from the original source. So that's why there is no possibility of executing the statements after return. So that's why from the compile time only you are getting an error. Okay. Actually, guys, there are two types of errors are over there. One is a runtime error. While you are typing your code and saving it, it will not throw error. Okay, so that's called a logical error. Your logical errors may happen at runtime. Okay, your syntax errors will happen at the compile time. That is when you save, immediately the code get compiled, and at the compilation time, Apex engine will check whether there is an syntax error. If there is a syntax error, it will immediately throw the error. If there is some logical error, means it will happen only when you run the code. So that's what the difference. Guys, clear? Any doubts?
Yes, bro.
Any doubts? Shall I give a couple of assignments?
Yes, bro, sure.
Ritu?
Yeah, and what about the recording, where we can see today's recording?
Yeah. Oh, it's okay, fine. So for absolute beginner, it may take a little bit time. So that's what you have to go through the recording. My humble request, please put your hands in the console window. You open it, you type something, whatever may be the error, let it throw. Okay, send the screenshot. Okay, or in the next class I will explain that. So don't worry about that. But the humble request is you have to work it out. You have to code, you have to type something. Otherwise, it's impossible to learn programming. Actually, one of the easiest thing is programming. Okay, as far as my personal opinion, programming is very, 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 very simple. Only thing is you should have logics around you, and the next thing is the syntax. Syntax, you can take it from internet itself. That's not an issue. But logic, it should come up. How you can develop your logics? By doing so many programs, by doing so many workouts, then only the logic will be comes into your armor. So that's really matters for a developer to have logic. Syntax and flows, no matter, internet is over there. Okay. So suppose you are going to take some code from the internet, you are going to apply it, but you don't know the logic behind that, you will get suffered to customize that. So that's what I am telling that. So any doubts over there?
No.
Okay, let me give a couple of simple things. Okay, you have to try these things.
Sure.
Yeah. So let me type it in my notepad. So what are the things you have to do? So these all are the things needs to be covered in the upcoming classes. Covering it because some absolute beginners are there, so there is no option for. Okay, write a function. So you need to create a class. You need to create a class. Okay. You need to create a class, and inside the class you create a couple of functions over there. Okay, and after that you execute that function. You pass the values into it and you execute it. And after that, into Trailhead, you can search for Apex Basics. In Trailhead, you can able to find out the trials for Apex Basics. You just to go through it. Okay? So in the upcoming classes, I will explain, what is meant by constructors, how it is the effect of static over there, extending a class, virtual. All the OOPS concepts will be explained clearly before getting into the concepts, Apex, upcoming concepts. Okay. So once you're very much clear into basics, then we can go on to the next sessions. Okay, so shall I stop it over here? It's time for me.
Sure, bro.
I'm going to
Thank you.
stop my class over here, and you will have the video, and you might have my numbers anytime. You can contact me. No issues with that. You can text me. I will respond it back as early as possible. Okay. So see you in the next class. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you, bro.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.